Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fashion Experiment. I'm Dr. Bridget, your professor of all things fashion. And in today's lesson, I'm going to be discussing fashion trend elements. And you really need to watch my fashion trends and influencing factors video because it laid a foundation to what I'm going to continue to discuss today. Uh, in my previous video, I talked about how we look to our environment and the culture in our world to forecast trends. All right. And once we observe what's going on in the world, and that is really what the fashion forecasting companies do. I talked about WGSN, Fashion Snoops, and Pantone. Those forecasting companies gather research across all the industries, not just in the fashion industry, but in the automobile industry, in cosmetics, in home fashion and interior design. And with that information, they consistently observe what the trends have been, past trends, and gathering all that information, all that data, they begin to see patterns. And that is the process of establishing where we are in fashion in regards to what's currently being worn and accepted by the masses, and then where we will move to. All right. So, in today's lesson, Fashion Trend Elements, we're going to continue that discussion. And I will, again, walk you down a path where you will see how trends evolve and how you could just look out into the world and observe what's going on in the world with your frame of reference from what has happened in the past and predict. And that is what forecasting is. It's a prediction. All right, so here I have two approaches to fashion forecasting. All right, what I'm talking about. How do you predict trends? All right, how do you forecast trends? There's a scientific approach and an artistic approach. All right, the scientific approach is the approach that I've been discussing, where you let the people, who you are forecasting for, really, these are the consumers that hope will go out and buy and patronize your business and continuously come back again and again and spend their money, right? All right, so we look to the scientific approach, look at our customer to see how the elements, those factors, influencing factors, are affecting them in the world. So all the little bubbles include things that happen in the world that affect you and I, from the weather to sales promotions in stores. And it's all research, it's all information that we're gathering. That is what the forecasting companies do. They gather all the data and they make sense of it. And as you gather the information and you consistently look at, again, what has happened in the past, how that has affected people, and then you examine what's going on in our world today, you have a frame of reference. Hey, this is not the first time where social justice issues were an issue in the world. This is not the first time that, people were fighting for their rights, the right to vote, to keep the right to vote. Let's go back, to the 50s and 60s. How did those people dress? How did those people live at that time? What are the similarities? What are the differences? How are we seeing this cycle repeated? It's all information. So the scientific approach has so much, it gives you so much to work with in regards to identifying, again, what is going on in the life of people and how does that make them feel, and how can that then be translated to dress? That's exactly the path that we're going to follow, that I'm going to carry you down, and you're going to see it all connect. All right. So then there's the artistic approach. The artistic approach has a place, in the fashion industry, because it's fashion in general, is all about self-expression, and that's the lane that the artistic approach um, really speaks to. And one approach is not better than the other. It's no really right or wrong. It's just whatever approach speaks to the designer, or the expected outcome. The expected outcome. One, for me, has a more practical sense approach to it as far as the business side of me, because I want to know that all the effort that I'm putting into developing this product is going to render, a favorable result in the end, and that is generating some revenue. So when you take the scientific approach, you kind of can connect some dots, to say, hey, here's my customer. This is what's going on in their world. This is how they feel about it. Here's my product that can meet that need and make them feel better. That's the sensible approach that I like about the scientific approach. And then the artistic approach, like I said, is just speaking to self-expression. So that could be relevant for a group of consumers, or could be relevant for a particular designer who already has an established following and knows their customer. They're already in sync with their customer. So they could really delve deep into the artistic approach and not have to focus so much on the scientific. See what I'm saying? So both approaches make sense. Both approaches are needed, necessary, relevant. However, for my lessons, we're framing the forecast that we're going to discuss around the scientific approach. Okay. All right. So here we are. Trend elements. These are the pieces to the forecasting puzzle. All right. So we're on this path. How do we look into the world and observe, gather research, information, data about people and what is going on in their world, and translate that to clothing? Here it is. Here it is. We have element 1, theme. You can also call it inspiration, or you could call it that cultural indicator. All right. So it's just the starting point. And if we're using the scientific approach, our starting point or our theme is going to be the cultural indicator, that issue, that environmental cultural factor that we've identified that is affecting large groups of consumers, that is now evoking feelings that we can use to connect to a trend. All right. And then if we're using the artistic approach, then that theme is going to be whatever has inspired us, that is fueling our artistic desire, our artistic juices. All right. But the theme is our starting point. Okay. And then once we've identified our theme, then we flow to the color, then we flow to fabric, and styles and silhouettes, and that translates to garments, actual apparel. So for each season, when we're talking about fashion forecasting, we forecast traditionally for a fall winter season and a spring summer season. Those are our two major seasons that we forecast for, and there are other seasons that fall within our fashion calendar. We have resort wear seasons, we have holiday seasons, but our two standard seasons that we always have, always, regardless of what's going on: fall, winter, spring, summer. All right. And for each of those seasons, we make predictions, forecasts for the masses about what is going to be relevant, what is going to be popular, what's the popular color, what's the popular style. All right. And how we get to those forecasts, how we get to those trends It evolves from those influencing factors that I discussed in my previous video. History of fashion, what once was old, that is new again, and how are we interpreting it now for today's consumer? And we also look to fashion influencers. Those are our celebrities, could be athletes, popular musicians, and we look to the culture, pop culture, societal issues, what's going on in the environment. All those things are influencing factors. You pick what is relevant to your customer. Pick what's relevant to your customer. All right. And some of the themes or some of the cultural indicators speak to everyone, like the one that I had highlighted, which is social justice, everyone, every group, women's groups, LGBTQ groups of consumers, people of color, could be immigrants, it could be, anyone. It's all about being accepted for you, being able to express you in this world and be respected for it. All right. That's kind of like the underlying theme for all the social movements that we've seen of late. Okay. So I've identified the 4 elements of fashion trends. And now we're going to move into each one. I'm going to touch on each one. Okay, so first is theme. Here I'm highlighting a theme that was presented by one of the forecasting companies, WGSN. So one of the major themes that is going to be a recurring theme, because this is where we are in the world. This is where human beings, you and I, exist. Okay, this is how we feel. And they titled it All In. It was from 2020. All right. And one thing I want to highlight when we talk about forecasting trends, every season, as I said, there's something new, right? But we need to recognize that while every season, fall, winter, spring, summer, the industry presents new trends, that doesn't mean that old ones just disappear, because they don't. They just evolve. They evolve. So in 2020, WGSN presented the all-in macro trend. That was an overarching theme that they identified, and it really captures what I already have said. Look at the first line. All in is about the coming together of humankind, everyone, with all of our differences, with all of our similarities, whoever you are, let's come together. A renewed longing for communities to feel close. And that's what we have seen. All these individual consumer groups or individual communities speaking out against injustice, for being mistreated in this world that we all live in together. So that is the theme. This is what's going on in our world. All right. And then as part of the macro trend, they broke it down into segments. Look at that. Micro trends, little breakaways from the all in. Well, we want to live together, everyone, in as one world, humankind, human race. We're all human beings. All right. And then there's small segments that they broke down into micro trends. The gender blur. Okay, so now the gender blur introduces consumers who don't want to identify with being a male or a female. Hey, let's stop, you know, creating all these different groups, or let's stop creating all these differences. Let's not use gender, to define ourselves. I don't want to use gender. I want to be non-binary. Let me just be me. Not a male, not a female. I'm just me. And then there's love is love. So now that we've introduced the idea of not segmenting the population based on a gender, let me love how I want to love, who I want to love. Love is love, right? And then that then evolves into what we're forecasting as a modern relationship. So again, these are all themes in society where the forecasting company, WGSN, and all the others have just looked out into the world. What are people doing? How are people living? What is affecting them? Large groups of consumers. How is it affecting them? What is affecting them? How do they feel about what they're experiencing in their lives in this world that they live in? And that's where we establish the basis of our trend, the first element, a theme. And that's where we are. And like I said, this doesn't go away. We're in another year. We're going to continue to progress into another year. And this same trend is going to be relevant. It's just going to evolve and take a different shape and morph into what it will be, which we don't know. And it's really exciting to me from a fashion perspective. When we look at gender blurring, we never really had a group of consumers who said, hey, I don't want to be viewed as a male. I don't want to be viewed as a female. How is that going to affect fashion, where we've always separated clothing styles based on gender? A whole menswear, women's wear fashion week for men and women. How is this going to affect the industry and really every aspect of it? When you go shop into the world, go out into the world and shop in retail stores, there's a men's section and a women's section. And it's really, really going to impact. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have, but it will have an impact on how designers design and how we make products available without gender, removing men's wear, removing women's wear, and, organizing it a different way. That to me is like, wow, because we've never seen it before. And it just causes your mind to think differently if you allow it to. And like I said, to me, it's creative, and that's what fashion is about. Another way to express yourself. So it's just another option. We have men's wear, we have women's wear, and now non-binary wear, or whatever, it will be called, but it's going to evolve into something. And it remains to be seen, but that will be part of the forecast, and we will see it. All right, so after theme, our next element is color. Color is wonderful because here is where we really start to touch on the fashion. So the color has a dual purpose. Color allows us to connect what we're experiencing in the world now to fashion. And then the second purpose is the more practical purpose. We're forecasting clothes. People are going to wear the clothes. So what color are they going to be? What prints and patterns will they be? So our color of the year, 2021, is two colors, ultimate gray and illuminating. And prior to 2021, Pantone forecasted two colors back in 2016. And in my forecasting and color video, I'm going to discuss that, okay? Because I love color. I love the psychology of color. It's so much more than, ooh, I like blue, ooh, I need a brown shirt to match with, my tan skirt. It's really a mental thing. All right. And I want to explain that to you, and I want you to be able to see it and notice it. So 2020, we experienced the pandemic, shut down the whole world, not just the United States. Everyone in the world was affected by the pandemic. It changed our work. It changed school for kids. It changed the way we shop for essential things, food, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and clothing. E-commerce just skyrocketed because so many people were at home. We use technology for every part of our lives, to learn, to work. Just everything just shut down. You were in your home, for a year or more for some people. So 2021, now that we are coming out of the pandemic, evolving back into our new world that has changed so much, the industry forecasted two colors. And it's all about feelings first, okay, before we translate it to an actual product. So the feeling associated with coming out of the pandemic, there's two feelings. And that's what the two colors communicate. So the gray, ultimate gray, is associated with really what we saw, what we felt, which was not very good, right? We experienced a lot of heaviness, a lot of death, and just unknown. And that's what that ultimate gray really speaks to, those feelings of what we felt, what we saw. Okay. And then the illuminating, this yellow shade, is the optimism of that, a better, brighter day. Things can't help but get to bed. Things couldn't get any worse. They could only get better. Let's be optimistic for a brighter future now in 2021. All right. A sunny day, the promise of a brighter day. So ultimate gray and illuminating were the two colors that were forecasted for 2021. So I'm explaining that to show you how we're connecting the theme, our scientific theme, what we have experienced, what we have seen in the world, what we have been living now translates to feelings that we associate with color. All right. Illuminating gray, ultimate gray and illuminating. Then the practical side is, now these colors are the colors that then designers and manufacturers, cosmetics industry, interior design, automobile industry will then begin to incorporate into their products that they'll be selling. All right. And, you choose what you want. Like I said, you don't have to. Of course, you're not forced to do it, but this has been forecasted because this is the process of establishing a trend. All right. So just imagine, so I can help you see it, visualize it, and make it make sense for you. If you're a retailer and the color for the season was this ultimate gray and the illuminating, and like you're a retail store in a strip mall, and all the retailers have window displays, and you see this bright pop of yellow with their products everywhere in this nice yellow color, and then the complementary gray, you see it there, and everyone has a little section in their store with these two colors because they're the popular colors. All right. And you're the only one that doesn't offer that. So if your customer is a traditional customer that follows trends, most people follow, most of us, we think we're, doing something different and unique, but the majority of the society are fashion followers. So if everyone is talking about, oh, gray is the color, get you some gray slacks, get you another pair of gray sweatpants, you're going to want to be in on that trend. You're going to want to be in on it, especially if everyone is buying it and wearing it and you're the only retailer who doesn't have it. They're going to walk right past you. All right. But again, it's based on your target market. And if you are a typical, retailer, a department store, or a specialty retailer, you're in a mall or a strip mall, your customer is a fashion follower. They're going to be looking for what is trending. Okay. I'm not talking about like a high-end couture designer. You establish a trend. So you're using that artistic approach because you have a loyal following. You have a reputation that's already established. Whatever you put out on the runway, people are going to run to and wear. So you don't necessarily have to embrace what is trending because you set the trend. So know who your customer is, know who you're serving, and understand that everyone will be looking to wear, to patronize, to purchase what is trending for the year. All right. All right, so after we establish our popular color, then we move into fabrication. Fabrication is very important, especially when we're talking about textiles and apparel products, because that is the main ingredient, fabric, right? So I have an image here, just a general image of a pattern, this little mosaic print. And you see that it's a purplish warm tone, different shades of purple in that teal and a pop of brown to create the pattern. So once you establish the color, the popular color, and you create a color palette, that would be the different shades that complement one another that will be used on the subsequent garments and products that are going to be created. Then you just start playing around with it and you see what, again, is relevant for you. Now, when I say for you, I mean the business, the manufacturer. You have to use the trend information and apply it to what you have already established as a business. Okay, what do you know your target market likes? And again, this all relates back to your research and your data, your sales data, what works for your customer, and how to incorporate what is trending for the season into what you've already established as what is relevant for your customer, what sells, and it's what is successful for your business. All right. So your fabrication and your pattern, you just translate the color to the patterns. I mean, there's more that goes into it. This will have to be a whole nother video. I did a fabric video, apparel fabrics video that really talks about the science behind it, because it's not random. Nothing is random. As a consumer, you go and you shop and you're like, oh, that's cute. I really like that. That matches. It's all a process, and how you choose patterns, how you choose the fabrics that you use is really not about what it looks like. It's the characteristics of the fabric, how it performs. All right. So the next stage is what I call the look idea. So again, I am reviewing the elements of a fashion trend. So we started with our theme. We're using the scientific approach. We've established some issues in the world that are affecting large groups of consumers. And based on that, how they feel, we've associated it with color. We've identified 2 colors that were forecasted for the season. And it's all about what we experience, all of us, the entire world experience. There's one color that just captures how we felt. Large groups of people were in a negative, sad place. And then the second color that was forecasted for the year is optimism. I hope for the future, brighter days ahead. And then once we move from color, we go into fabric. Okay. So now it's just selecting the actual fabric that you want to use to interpret the color, and you apply it to whatever your product is. So I say fabric because we're focusing on apparel, but it could be cosmetics. So you translate your gray color or that yellow color to your eyeshadow palette, to your lip color palette. You translate that color, the gray, the yellow, to your paint for your interior. So you use the color wherever it is relevant for your customer, for your product, for your industry. And when we're talking about fashion now, because that is what we're talking about, at the look idea, here is where we translate the color to the fabric to actual garments. All right. So this is where the magic happens, right? So again, to apply it practically, it has to be related to a particular group of consumers that are being served by a specific business. So I'm a manufacturer, I'm a retailer, I'm a designer with a specific target market who I've been serving and I'm continuing to serve, and I'm working on, this season's collection, this season's product line that I will be presenting to them. So how am I now going to translate what has been forecasted for the season for my consumer group? And it's all about the look. What is the look that you are offering your customers? So that includes the silhouette. A silhouette is just the shape. Is it a full shape? So we see now that we're evolving from the slimmer, body-hugging figure form silhouette to a fuller silhouette. And that's going to be a slow evolution, in general, because we've been wearing such a slim figure-hugging silhouette for so long. Everyone is not going to embrace, what is trending. All right, so the silhouette focuses on the shape. And then the garment styles. So styles of clothing are just variations of the same thing. So we can take a pair of denim jeans. We can have a slim cut style. We can have that boyfriend cut style with slightly fuller. We can have that mom jean cut style, which has a higher torso, comes up higher, so it's different varieties of the same garment. That's the style. And then design details. So design details are just that, the details that we add to a garment. So does your mom jean have belt loops? Does it have some type of embellishment on the back pocket? Is there some distressing going on in the jean? The details that we add to it to give it that personality that speaks to our brand, that speaks to our customer. So all those different pieces go together, your silhouette, your garment style, your design detail, to create the look. And again, this is a whole lesson on its own. It's really about the consumer that you're serving. And I'm speaking from a business perspective. If you're looking at the video and you're just trying to get an idea for yourself, then that's great. That's great. If we're talking about individuals, what is your look? How do you want as an individual to present yourself to the world or in the different environments that you exist in? You can have a different look for your everyday personal life and a different look for your professional life. Establish what you want your look to be. And that's exactly what brands do. They create a look. They create a look. So my examples of looks: a streetwear look, an American sportswear look, a look inspired by Japanese design. There's so many different types of garment styles that are associated with a look, and that's just how you want to represent, your overall brand or your overall person as an individual. All right. So everyone, this is the end of this video. Make sure you tune in for more. I'm going to continue this series on fashion forecasting. We're going to do a couple more videos. So stay tuned. Bye, everyone.